Last night, I think it was last night, maybe the night before, I was going to share something with you written by Peter Werner. Peter Werner. Werner. And he wrote, this was before the election, he wrote, with only hours left before Election Day, here's the painful, self-evident truth facing lifelong Republicans like me. The 2016 presidential campaign has revealed dark and disturbing things, not only about Donald Trump, but also about the party that nominated him. The forces that propelled Mr. Trump's rise need to be confronted and defeated. It won't be easy, given that tens of millions of Americans will vote for him and deeply believe in him. But if these forces are not defeated, what happened this year will be replicated in one form or another, and the Republican Party will continue to inflict great harm on our republic. It's a very interesting piece. I guess it was an op-ed piece, New York Times. At one point in this piece, he writes, in 2011, I wrote a column in the Wall Street Journal criticizing Mr. Trump's embrace of birtherism, warning that, quote, when prominent figures in a party play footsie with peddlers of paranoia, the party suffers an erosion of credibility, end quote. I also pointed out that, quote, people are generally uneasy about political institutions that give a home to cranks, end quote. But I never for a moment imagined that Mr. Trump, as the chief apostle of this crazed racist conspiracy theory, would become the nominee of the Republican Party 5 years later. Yet he did. And he did it in large part not despite, but because he has championed one conspiracy theory after another. When conspiracy theories gain wide currency within a political party, it means it is losing or has lost contact with reality. Oh, God. But see, all the common sense stuff written about this filthy pig, or put out in public about this filthy pig, was stuff that was written. The television networks might have well been giving him blowjob after blowjob. Do you remember when Morning Joe had him on via telephone every goddamn day? Oh, they thought it was so much fun. That a demagogue like Mr. Trump would emerge when there is a lot of frustration in the lives of Americans who feel that their suffering is ignored isn't without precedent, which is why the greater sin of the Republican Party wasn't that Mr. Trump won the nomination by carrying a plurality of votes in a large field. It was that people who surely know better rallied to Mr. Trump once he became the nominee. Some advised him, others defended him and excused him, and still others tried to ignore him. Certain people acted worse than others, but in the end, they were all caught up in Mr. Trump's ethical confusion and moral corruption. They didn't pull him up. He pulled them down. Those of us who have long defended the Republican Party could do worse than honestly assess what role we might have played in all this, what we missed and why, and what more we could have done to stop it. When you are part of a political movement that chose Donald Trump as your nominee, some serious self-reflection is in order. Oh, God, some serious self-reflection. If Mr. Trump should win on November 8th, the Republican Party will be fundamentally redefined, to put it mildly. Many of us could not continue to be part of a political institution defined by Donald Trump, by Breitbart.com and Ann Coulter, one that most resembles the right-wing nationalist parties we see in Europe. Our allegiance isn't to a party. It is to a set of ideas and ideals, to the good of the whole, to what the prophet Jeremiah called the welfare of the city. No party is simply the embodiment of ideas, of course. All parties are coalitions, but a party that is recast into the image of Mr. Trump is something many of us would want nothing to do with. Of course, if Mr. Trump wins, it won't simply be the Republican Party that faces its moment of reckoning. Our republic will too. That worries me a great deal because I love my country far more than I love my party. You know, all kinds of pieces have been written about this clown, this Nazi clown. And every once in a while, a few paragraphs would be read, usually by Mika Brzezinski on Morning Joe, with the script up on the screen while she read. But beyond that, and those were examples of writers, editorial writers, op-ed writers, think tank writers, people who were putting out there the truth about Trump. But the people to whom that stuff was addressed don't fucking read. They watch television. They get on their computers and watch porn. But they goddamn sure don't read. Especially not a communist paper like, New York Times. Jesus Christ. So all the truth that was put out there in the form of the printed word never reached the people that should have read it. They don't read, and half of them can't fucking read, can't understand the words anyway.